I am Will Cain, and tonight we examine the rising tide of hate in America. Earlier today, Joe Biden signed the COVID-19 Anti-Asian Hate Crime Act into law. The president, at one point, growing furious in his speech earlier this afternoon.
Every time we're silent, every time we let hate flourish, we make a lie of who we are as a nation. I mean it literally. We cannot let the very foundation of this country continue to be eaten away.
Now, attacks on Asian Americans do seem to be more prevalent than ever, and the videos are graphic. According to a study by UC San Bernardino, reported hate crimes in the U.S. are up 164% in the first quarter of this year compared to last year. And that's a startling number for sure, because when you consider 2020 numbers, according to UC San Bernardino, those were up 149% over the previous year. But look, I wanted to get a fuller picture. So, unlike most media members, I read the actual study, and I found something very interesting. The study cited tweets and statements from Republican Senator Tom Cotton and former President Donald Trump, and it tied those statements to the upticks in attacks on Asian Americans. The underlying theme? Attacks on Asian Americans are tied to calling COVID-19 the Wuhan virus or the China virus, and more broadly, they're a result of white supremacy. Even Joe Biden tried to hammer that idea home today. Before signing the law, he cited two examples of hate crimes.
Heather Heyer, a civil rights activist whose life was taken standing up to Nazis marching from the shadows of vengeance in Charlottesville. And the family of Khalid Jabara, a proud son of a family who's immigrated from Lebanon in search of new beginnings, who was gunned down in front of their home.
Why did Joe Biden choose those two victims? It's not because they're Asian or Pacific Islanders, because they're obviously not. It's because they were killed by racist white men, Heather Heyer in Charlottesville, and Khalid Jabara by a neighbor who harassed his family for years, assuming they were Muslim. But I thought this was the COVID-19 Anti-Asian Hate Crime Act. Why not invite, a single victim of anti-Asian violence? Why not invite the Asian woman beaten with a hammer just last month right here in New York? Or the 63-year-old Asian woman stabbed while waiting for a bus in San Francisco? Why not invite a single victim of anti-Asian hate crime? Because whether you're Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or the mainstream media at large, it's not really the victims that matter. It's the perpetrators. They want to hammer home the narrative that the most dangerous people in America are white men. But, as is so often the case, the reality just doesn't match up with the narrative. Let's focus on anti-Asian American hate crimes. They occur mostly in 2 or 3 cities: New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. Not exactly fortresses of conservatism, not exactly full of people wearing MAGA hats and chanting Donald Trump's name. But, and I know this is going to sound crazy, we clicked even further into the studies. Wild, right? If you look at the data from those 3 cities and look at anti-Asian hate crime, you can actually see stats from the local police departments. And, for example, the numbers released by the NYPD found that perpetrators of the majority of the violent anti-Asian hate crimes are largely Black and Latino. In fact, over 90% of the perpetrators of anti-Asian hate crimes in New York City were Black or Latino. Well, that's not exactly helpful to the mainstream media's narrative, or Joe Biden's. Let's drill down even deeper here, because I have had this debate and wondered about this ever since I spent a few years in law school. What exactly is a hate crime? What makes one murder more hateful than another? What would another crime be? What would another murder be? Loving? I know what the FBI and the DOJ say. I know how they define a hate crime. The FBI says it's a criminal offense against a person or property motivated in whole or in part by an offender's bias against a race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or gender identity. But aren't all violent crimes hateful by their very nature? What about this? What about this horrendous story from Dallas, Texas? It's the kidnapping and brutal murder of Cash Gernon. You can't tell me that the man who hovers over a toddler's crib and then abducts a 4-year-old boy and stabs him to death, leaving his dead body on a sidewalk, is not filled with hate in his heart. There is hate dripping through every detail of this story. You can see that video on your screen right now. Tell me it doesn't define hatred. Would this story be worse if the accused murderer was white and Cash Gernon were black? Does it matter to the victim lying on the cold table at the morgue? Does it matter to Cash Gernon's family whether or not his murderer held bias? The criminal quite obviously held bias against the victim. Whatever combination of race you want to cast in the roles of murder and victim, murder is hate. The truth is, hate is rising in America. And just for an example, let's go to Los Angeles. Take a look at this video. This is from last night. Pro-Palestinian protesters attacking diners outside a restaurant on Tuesday night. Several men beating another man and yelling anti-Semitic slurs. And this, a Jewish man beaten by pro-Palestinian protesters in New York City last month. There are Palestinian and Jewish violence taking place on the streets of New York City as I speak, outside the windows of this building in New York City. Anti-Semitic crime, it has remained on historic highs in America for years. And there was so much concern that members of Congress introduced an Anti-Semitism Awareness Act in 2019. But strangely, unlike the bill signed today, it didn't go anywhere. Why? Wrong villain? Wrong perpetrator? At the end of the day, some Democrats and members of the media are doubling down on tribalism and focusing on our racial differences. Look, the story of humanity is brute, violent force in a battle for tribal supremacy. It's our base nature. And the great exception to this story of humanity is the United States of America. We were, and we still are, a tribe of different people with different religions from different ethnicities, united around an idea. The idea that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights and freedom. Now, look, we haven't always lived up to that ideal. We have often failed, and we have, at times, failed spectacularly. But for too many, the way to correct course is to double down on our differences, to run to our tribes, to jettison our ideals. And that's a direct path to the growth of grievance and hatred. Joe Biden, though, is right about one thing. We need to stand up to hate, all of it, not just the kind that is politically convenient. And to do so it will not require a hate crime bill. It will require jettisoning those who ask us to jettison our ideals. It will require living up to American exceptionalism. Joining me now, James.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.